Welcome back. With the things on the workbench here, you can kind of see what we're working with today. The gauge cluster, of course, and the AC temperature control. And today we'll be replacing the lights to some LED lights. They're currently grungy. This side doesn't even work. And then half the lights in here work. So I'm going to get those changed out. I'll throw up a clip of what they look like now, and then we'll get started on getting this taken apart and changing out the bulbs. Alright, so I'm going to start off with the AC control unit, just to start small and not mess up my actual gauge cluster. So I'm going to start here. Just want to go around and make sure you note all the fasteners. It looks like there's 4 that hold on this back plate. Gotta pop these off. Got under and then was wiggling it back and forth to try and pop it out. Then I'm going to try and spray some of this silicone lubricant down on the actual knob down in here. Go ahead and spray down in there on the actual metal part that connects to the plastic part of the knob. Ooh. Before I forget, I'm just going to go ahead and wipe this off because it got on here. We can see where the current lights are. Alright, so it's time to start locating and then desoldering the old light bulbs. And it's going to be hard just to see since it's on opposite sides, but just taking these 6 lights out that have these blue caps on it, and then there's these 2 in the center for the actual like temperature control. So it'll be a lot of flip-flopping back and forth to make sure I have the correct ones, but I'm going to be using my hot air rework station and trying to heat up just those 2 solder points and then just pulling them out. Then from there we'll be cleaning up the solder, taking out the solder that was in there, and then getting ready to put the new bulbs back in. There's one out. You just have to keep the heat there until the solder starts to heat up enough, and I just was pulling on it just ever so slightly. So we're gonna continue to do that for the other, like 6. You just have these 2 in the middle still. And I'm just pulling as I go back and forth to each one. And it came out a lot faster than I was doing with that. Next thing will be to heat up one side with the soldering iron and then use the desoldering tool on the other side. So like I'll heat up this back side while I put the tool on this front side, and then try and suck out the solder, because putting in the new bulbs will be much easier if there's no solder there, and then you can just slide them in and out. And thankfully on the board they have circles around each solder joint so that you know where those bulbs went. Not gonna lie, I just panicked a little bit because I didn't remember where they were. This top hole now is see-through. So I'm gonna go through and do that for all the holes. All right, we got all those holes desoldered. You can see through all of them. I haven't tested to make sure that they slide in easily, but you can go ahead and test that out now. I'm gonna just dump these. So this is what they look like. Looks like just two LED bars or whatever. And then they do have a positive and negative. I believe the longer side is the positive end.
That's right.
And I can get into which side is which on the board. But then you'll just mimic the height of the halogen bulbs that were in there. And then from there, we'll solder the back side and then clip the legs to length. Make sure positive leg goes to the bottom for this one and this one, and then long leg goes to the top for the others. I'm gonna stop you right there. The instructions that I found on Amazon just didn't work. Could have been the LEDs themselves or the instructions, but didn't seem to work for me. What I have up on the screen for you now from testing the continuity between the different points on the boards for the LEDs seems to be what is the actual polarity layout. So if you're following along, use this, and if it doesn't work for you, let me know down in the comments what you believe the polarity is so we can get this squared away for anybody else that needs to use this. Gone ahead and bent all the legs, so I'm going to get started soldering. So I'm just going to go through, make sure that they're flat as much as possible, and then add some solder to it. I'm just going to go through and finish those, and then once that's done, I'll bend the legs back up and then cut them, make sure they're as close as they can be. So with that done and them all at a similar height as they were with the regular bulbs, I've gone ahead and bent the legs up, made sure the positive is on the correct side. Then I'm going to go ahead and clip these off and start to put it back together. Let's get it put back together. Just want to make sure that those rubber pieces that contact the board didn't shift. Those are working good. These can move freely. And we just got to get the knobs on for everything and the screws back in. This is put back together. It's like a half moon kind of cut, and then it corresponds with this, so you'll just match it up, I'll move on to the actual instrument cluster, and then we'll go ahead and test these both out to make sure that they work properly. All right, onto the instrument cluster. You just want to go around. I haven't looked up how to take this apart, but you just want to go around and see what seems to be holding all of this together. So we can see all of these clips are part of this front face, this front bezel, but then we can also see down in here that they're also captured back here, these two. And you just want to be careful with prying those up. You just want it just above the what's holding it in, so that you don't put too much force on it and stress. So we've got those and they're loose now. So we can just it's already off. All right, so I'm gonna try and explain it. These you don't actually like try and pry up that are on the inside of this. Once you get these top three popped off, you then want to squeeze like this white area, or the white case around where these are, and then it'll allow enough room vertically to just slide past the hook part. So just like a press and then lift it and pull it out, and you have to do it on both sides. Now we can see where those lights are. I believe we have these three here, and then these, 8? That actually might be simpler than anticipated. So I'm gonna show you on this one. Hopefully I don't get too much in your way. Holding on to the light, heating up that joint, and just pulling that leg away. And then on the back side, doing the same thing. That's that light off. So I'm gonna zoom you out and then just knock out taking all of the lights off. All right, so these small ones that have blue on them shouldn't come off. You're only wanting to replace these. And just want to note which leg is longer than the other. And sit it on the joint. All right, while off camera, I put these lights back on. Hopefully they're in the correct position and order. But also just cleaned up these solder joints just to add a little more solder to them to make sure that they're secure and also have contact. So now I'm going to take the tweezers, bend the legs up, and then snip them off. And then we'll get to putting this all back together and testing it out. Alright, we're going ahead and putting everything back together into here. Make sure the holes are aligned. That'll just drop into there. We can bring the board over and then gently put everything back in. And start putting these back in. Go ahead and grab the front. And from here, just lowering it down. Which again, just line it up. Look at it. That's it, put back together. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up the front here, and then I'll see y'all in the truck when we're putting these in and testing them out. So what you want to do after you get it clipped in is put the top in first and then pivot down the bottom. It'll line up with these. There's a locating pin there, and then same on the other side. This is looking good as far as lighting. I actually do have to go back in and adjust some of those needles, like miles per hour. I'm sitting here, yet it's showing like 5. So I'll go back in and change that. Similar with coolant temp and voltage and oil pressure and RPM. So don't follow putting it at the 0 and then going from there. Try and mark where it's at and then putting it back. And then unfortunately, don't know if those LEDs that I put in are messed up or maybe the polarity was wrong, but I have to go in to this again and figure that out. I'll be back with hopefully everything fixed and looking proper.
One eternity later.
Appreciate y'all joining me and watching throughout this whole video. I'll catch y'all later.